iScope Media. We currently know that Uttar Pradesh is going on polls and there are 5 phases that is going on. So currently let's see what are the women factored in UP polls and how victoriously it is going to affect the UP polls. So women voters have emerged in recent state elections not only as a distinct segment of the electorate but also in some cases as makers of the election. Well, in West Bengal, if we see last year, the Trinamool Congress led by an impressive 13% over BJP among women, according to the CSDS survey. In the 2020 Delhi elections, women were more likely to have voted for AAP than BJP by 11%. In both cases, women voters transformed victories into landslides. Well, in northern India, if we see, there are states like Bihar where the BJP-JDU attracted more women than its opponent. And states like Uttar Pradesh where men and women tend to vote for the same parties in equal proportion according to the surveys. Beyond these gendered variations in electoral preferences, women are also able to impact electoral outcomes through their increased participation. Well, in the last electoral cycle since 2017, women have outvoted men in 24 states. Whatever gaps remain in the other states are also closing. In Uttar Pradesh, women have been outvoting men in state elections since 2012. Well, this has had several positive impacts on the electoral politics. First, political parties have now understood that they must address women voters as women rather than an extension of their livelihood or an invisible member of the larger social entities such as caste or religion or groups. Most major parties have women-specific sections in their manifestos currently, and parties in power have been multiplying pro-women schemes and policies with the hope of gaining support among this growing segment of the electorate. Well, now let's move on and look at the factors limiting impact of the women on politics. First, there are still fewer women voters than the male voters. One of the many pernicious effects of the skewed sex ratio is that it creates a great gender imbalance among voters. Second, while women voters registration has seen considerably progress in the recent years, there are still fewer women than men in the electoral polls. Well, in Uttar Pradesh in 2019, there were 6.7 crore registered female voters against 7.9 crore registered male voters. Second, if we have a look at political parties, a greater consideration for women does not translate into greater descriptive. Across India, there are only 330 women MLAs out of the 4,025. That is partly 8%. In Uttar Pradesh, there are currently only 43 women MLAs in an assembly of 403. That is 10.4% only. 36 of them were elected on a BJP ticket. Government representation is even worse. There are no women among Yogi Adityanath's 22 cabinet ministers and only 3 among 29 ministers of states holding portfolios conventionally attributed to women such as women's welfare, child development and nutrition, higher education, science and technology and secondary education. There is to this date no reason to think that this situation will improve in 2022. Well, data available for the first phase of Uttar Pradesh election shows that the major parties have fielded only 31 women out of the 232 candidates, which makes it only 13.4%. Well, 16 of them are running on a Congress ticket, 7 on a BJP ticket. BSP and SPRLD alliance fielded only 4 women candidates each. This is an improvement compared to 2017, however, as parties then fielded only 8% of the women candidates in the same seats. But if one accounts for the variation induced by Congress's decision to boost women representation among its candidates, the situation has hardly improved. In fact, SP and RLD have fielded fewer women candidates, and BJP has fielded only 2 more women as compared to 2017. Well, does this mean that Congress's decision to field 40% of women candidates will pay off? Nothing is certain, however. What we know about electoral behavior is that both women and men factor is different variables when they decide whom to vote for. Caste, religion, welfare, party appeal, general and personal economic situations they are considered. Their decision does not necessarily depend on whether parties offer them descriptive representations or not. Well, for instance, if we take a look at in Delhi and Bihar, women again voted in the incumbent government despite their political exclusion. Both AAP and JDU's record in women nominations and inclusions in the government is appealing. In West Bengal, Mamata Banerjee inducted 40.5% and 16.6% of women candidates in the last two elections, which is 2019 and 2021. Many credit her success among women voters to popularity of her policies, notably special housing and pension schemes for women. However, BJP, which has done the same for women at the center, remains more popular among male voters, even though more women now vote for BJP than in the past. In Bihar, the presence gap for Nitish Kumar among the women remains but is diminishing if we see currently. Well, now what is the pitch for women votes? In Uttar Pradesh, the government seeks to attract women voters essentially through schemes and policies. Over the past 2 years, the government has launched and announced many pro-women schemes in addition to pre-existing central ones. In 2021, it announced the UP Mahila Samarthya Yojana, a scheme to promote women micro-enterprise. It also launched Mission Shakti, which was Nirbhaya Ek Pahal, an awareness campaign to promote women's safety through workshops. Other schemes provide support to women who have lost their husbands to COVID-19. Well, these come in addition to the central schemes such as Pradhan Mantri Vandana Yojana, a conditional cash transfer scheme for the pregnant women and lactating mothers. The Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, which focuses on building houses and promoting women house ownerships. The Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, which facilitates easier access to LPG connections, or the proposal to raise women's marriageable age to 21. Whether these policies will make an electoral difference in 2022 remains to be seen. While we do not have reliable data on the coverage and effectiveness of these schemes, there is no doubt that Uttar Pradesh government is concisely seeking to mobilize women specifically and is mainly using social and redistributive policies to achieve this objective. Recent scholarships by Bhumi Purohit, Soledad Artit Pilaman and Rachel Brule, among others, shows that the current trends in women's participation and electoral behavior may come from larger social transformations that are taking place in the grassroots level. Well, in northern India, there has been a recent increase of women participation in self-help groups and social organizations as well. More women seem to contest in the non-reserved seats in panchayat and municipal elections. Greater access to information also increased women's participation in the public sphere, despite household confinement remaining the norm in the rural areas. Well, it has been observed that women politicians are effective in mobilizing women voters and that women can rise politically through participation in local elected bodies. There is nonetheless a thick glass ceiling that restricts women from participating in state-level politics. Political parties remain the main obstacle to women's political empowerment beyond the local level. Well, in Uttar Pradesh, Congress is attempting to break this ceiling by nominating 40% of women candidates. What we see so far is that other parties have not been inspired to follow this suit. As a result, there is a strange situation where the only party that offers descriptive representation to women is the party that stands the least chances of performing in this election, while major players have made no effort to offer political empowerment to women through ticket distribution. Well, this was all about the role of women in the UP elections and how will it change in the 2022. We don't see any hope currently. Well, stay with us. We'll bring you more interesting topics to talk upon. This is Aparna Singh reporting for iScope Media.